Hello, and welcome to God in Our City, the Daily Edition. Your host and Bible teacher is Pastor Dave Watson. Pastor Dave has been the pastor of Calvary Chapel on Staten Island for 35 years. In addition, he is the co-founder and president of the New York Institute for Biblical Studies. To receive a special downloadable gift from Pastor Dave, please go to calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. That's calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. Now here's Pastor Dave and our show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome again to God in Our City. As Allie said, I am Pastor Dave Watson. I have the privilege of pastoring at Calvary Chapel here on Staten Island, and we're just grateful for the incredible opportunity we have to be on this radio station, as well as across all of our platforms, YouTube and Facebook, with God in Our City. And our church right now is going through 21 days of fasting and prayer. And we're loving doing that. We've got house prayer groups and all kinds of opportunities for everyone to participate. If you're just joining us, or if you're someone from our church family, please remember today is January 15th, and you should be on chapter 10 of 21, keys to answered prayer by our good friend Dave Early. We love doing this broadcast, and it's an incredible privilege to share with you every single day, really, during this 21 days of prayer. But we also like to give you free things. So if you go to calvarychapelsi.org, that's calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC, calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. We have a free gift for you. We have a free download there of a sermon I recently did on the Lord's Prayer that we want you to have. I know it'll be a blessing to you, and that's absolutely free. If you are there and you are so inclined, please consider giving a gift to God in Our City. There's a little donate button there, and we'd love to have you to do that. Any and every gift is appreciated. And please don't take any money from your local church or missionaries that you're given to give to us. But please consider making a donation. If you are able to give $50 or more, we'll send you the book, 21 Keys to Answered Prayer, to having our prayers answered, by my friend Dave Early. We'll send that right out to you. If you're able to give us $100 or more, we'll give you both that book. And I searched for a long time and found a really nice ESV New Testament with Proverbs and Psalms. And I've been looking for a long time for one. We'll send that to you as well. It has on it our God in Our City logo. And we'd love for you to have that. Well, enough of our advertising. For those items and to give, it's calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. I have very special guests today. A good friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time. Bring her on in. Betsy Maddox, welcome to God in Our City. Oh, I got to unmute you. I'm sorry. Welcome to God in Our City.
Thank you. Good to be here with you.
Betsy is the director of Child Evangelism Fellowship of New York City, of Greater New York City. How long have you been doing that, Betsy?
I've been with CEF New York City. This year will be 40 years.
Whoa. She started when she was incredibly young. And how long have you been the director?
15 years already.
Wow. Seems like yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday. And the reason why I brought Betsy on today was to talk about prayer and kids, and really engaging our kids in prayer. Statistics are amazing, and it's been said that statistics don't lie, but statisticians do. But having said that, most people who make a genuine, profession of faith and go on with the Lord do it when they're kids. And even beyond that, most people who do that, in terms of their discipleship, their spiritual formation, if it happens when they're kids, it continues with them. So I brought Betsy on today because we're talking about prayer, and many of you in our audience, you have kids, you have grandkids. I may have a few of you have great grandkids, but everybody knows all grandkids are great. But that's another story to talk about prayer. Betsy, can we teach kids to pray? Is it okay?
Of course, we can teach kids to pray, and we need to teach kids to pray. If they learn when they're young, like you were just saying, it lasts forever.
In terms of your own personal experience, your mom and dad were wonderful Christians and great missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
Did they instill in you and your sister at a young age the necessity, the importance, the discipline of prayer?
Absolutely. One of my very best memories of when I was a child was if I happened to wake up early, I knew where I would find my dad. He'd be at the dining room table and he would be knelt at the chair, and I would come up and kneel across from him, and he would grab my hands and pray for me. And that's just a special memory that was his discipline. I knew where he would be at 6:30, somewhere in there every morning.
Praying.
Yeah.
So you're actually giving us the first principle of praying and teaching our kids to pray, and that's the necessity of modeling it.
Yes. Yes. And every evening he would come in and pray with me before bed. And of course, there was devotions during the day, not every single day, but enough that I remember having that with my family.
What kind of impact did your dad and my mom praying with you at night have on you?
For one thing, I felt very important. I knew, back then that was before VHS, DVR. They were watching TV, but he would miss whatever was on and come because it was important to him. So I knew I was important to him and prayer was important to him, that he would leave whatever he was doing and come spend that time in prayer with me before I went to bed.
That's a special memory. Really is. And did you continued that with your kids?
I did. It was important for me to spend that time, especially before bedtime, just take that time with them.
How does Josiah feel about you coming over to his house now that he's like 37 and praying with him before he goes to bed? Is it uncomfortable for him?
Well, he has continued that on with his kids, and just
I'm sure of it.
Very sweet to see that.
I'm sure of that. So, when it comes to your teaching kids to pray, what are some things we can do, and what are some things we need to remember?
Some of the keys of teaching kids to pray is make it easy for them. Make it an enjoyable experience for them. So, of course, we demonstrate it, but as I teach them to pray, one of the hard things about adults is they don't want to pray out loud. And so if we teach children to pray out loud, while they're young, it becomes a natural thing. And so I try to make it as easy as possible for them. So I'll give directed prayer to children so they know what to pray about. And then I also make sure they know when it's their turn to pray. Because, when we're in a group, even as adults, the awkwardness is, do I start? Do I pray now? Is somebody else going to jump in at the same time? And so I make it easy for them to know when it's their turn to pray. So we have a lot of different ways we teach children to pray, as far as making it fun, and the different aspects of prayer and ideas of what they can actually pray about.
Walk us through some of the different aspects of prayer and how I can make it fun for my kid to pray. I'm hoping that some parents right now are sitting around a dinner table right now, listening to God in Our City, watching God in Our City, and they're thinking, I gotta do this. I gotta get this into my kids. How? Give us some of the aspects of prayer, and then how do I actually get a child to engage in that? How do I make it fun?
Sure. Well, one of the things I use is just the hand, and one hand lifted up can be praise. And I try to differentiate between thanks. The other hand is thanks. So I let children finish the sentence, God, you are. And so, and they'll finish that sentence however they want to. And I explain praise as anything we tell God that's true about himself is a praise. And so finish this sentence, God, you are, and let them finish the sentence. And then I'll say, you just prayed. You just told God a praise because he is wonderful. He is good. He is majestic, whatever they come up with. And then, so that's one hand up, and the other hand up is thanks. So of course, children know how to thank God. That's like one of the earliest prayers they learn is thank you for mommy, thank you for daddy, thank you for the food. So that's an easy one, but I try to help them think outside of the box of what to thank God for. Just the other day, I was thanking God for a warm shower, so sometimes we need to help them think outside of the box of what to thank for. So I'll show a picture to a child and say, what in this picture will help you think of what to thank God for? Could be even animals or a toothbrush or, something different. So
that I hold my right hand up and I say, God is, and they answer it. Mm-hmm. And I hold my left hand up and I say, God has done.
Right.
Okay.
But I make sure they're directing it toward God. So right. I prefer to say, God, you are, because then they're actually speaking to God. They're not just telling me about God, which is okay. That's good too. But I want them to speak to God. So God, you are, and thank you, God, for. And then confession. So the kind of the fists is confession. It's important to teach children to, repair that relationship that you have through Jesus, but through confession, so that there's nothing blocking us and our relationship with the Lord. So we do that silently between them and God.
Do they need prompting on that, or do you think kids just know how they've messed up?
Typically, they know. I would give examples. Like usually I'm with a group because now my kids are grown. I'm with a group of children and I might give a couple of examples, but they know. I said, what's in your heart that's between you and God, and tell him about it. It's like tattle on yourself.
I think that's probably a great way to say
it. Yeah. So then we use the fingers to talk about who we can pray for. And the thumb, pray for people who are closest to you, your family, your friends. And we'll give suggestions on how to pray for them. The pointer finger, pray for people who point others to God. Pastors, missionaries, Sunday school teachers. The tallest finger reminds us to pray for people in authority who are over us. So that could be school teachers, school principals, the president of the United States, mayor, police officers. So people who are in authority over us. And I'll give suggestions on what to pray for them. This finger, and I give the demonstration of how this finger is like the weakest finger. If you do this, I don't know if you can see it, but if you put that finger down, this finger is really hard to lift. So it's our weakest finger. So it reminds us to pray for people who are weak. Now it could be weak spiritually, physically. So it could be the elderly. It could be people who are sick. It could even be people who are poor, and unsaved to pray for. So that's the reminder. And then, of course, we can pray for ourselves. So
the pinky finger, the tallest finger, the one that hurts the most when you smash it.
Right. So that's just, a way to remember different people that we can pray for.
Just because, in case our audience didn't get it again, just walk through again. The thumb, who do I pray for?
People who are closest to us, family and friends. The pointer finger, people who point us to God. The tallest finger, people who are in authority over us. The weak finger, the ring finger, people who are weak. So that could be the unsaved, sick people, elderly people, poor people. And then the pinky finger, ourselves.
Now you have dealt, I know, because you work in some of the tougher areas of our city, but you've dealt with a lot of kids from other faiths.
Mhm.
other faith communities.
Mhm.
How have they received this just talking to God thing? Has that been a challenge?
Yeah, there's been different reactions, and they are kind of amazed. Like, I remember talking to a boy from West Africa that he was just amazed that we could just talk to God. Um, there have been Muslim kids in our classes. Um, I guess their parents just allow them to come. They're curious. And same thing, same thing. They're just like, it doesn't have, it can be just speaking to God like you and I are speaking to each other. This is how you can talk to God. And they're amazed there's not certain words, certain repetitions, or certain position they have to be in order for God to hear them.
That is wild to think that how different um, authentic Christianity is
Mm.
from really world religions and how other people view things. Is there a way that you help them remember answers to prayer? Is there any secret to that?
Well, journal. We give them little, we help them make prayer journals. If we've done a concert of prayer, we'll do a little craft and it'll be a prayer journal.
Wait, wait a second. Explain to people what you just said. You said so casually. So you have done concerts of prayer with kids.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite things to do. That and teaching kids how to share their faith. Teaching kids to pray and how to share their faith are two of my favorite things to do.
So how many? What's the most number of kids you've ever done a concert of prayer with? Do you remember?
We've had big ones, like could be 50 kids.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa. And you take them through the phases of prayer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We will.
And they do it orderly and they stay focused on it.
Absolutely, because we're changing activities constantly. And they're not just sitting listening to us pray, we're engaging them. Of course, we sing worship songs. And we also tell a Bible lesson about prayer. And my favorite Bible lesson to teach them about prayer is called God's Good Answers. And it goes through what his answers are. Like Hannah prayed for a son, and God's answer was yes. And we talk about that a little bit. Paul prayed for the thorn in the flesh to be removed from him. God's answer was no. Mary and Martha spoke with Jesus and requested that he come to heal their brother. And he said, he waited a couple of days.
Slow.
Yeah, there you go. And then we go through, why did God answer yes to Hannah? Why did God answer no to Paul? Why did God answer wait, or Jesus say wait, to Mary and Martha? And it was all to bring God glory. So even when we don't get the answer we're wanting, we have to trust him that it's for our best and for his glory. And so I teach a lesson to the kids. And we go through the different aspects of prayer. We'll do some in large groups, some in small groups, some individually. We have them moving around the room. We can have them come up to a map and point to a country to pray for, just a lot of different activities so they're not bored.
So when we're talking here, are we talking children as young as 4 years old?
Yes, typically I'm working with kids kindergarten through 5th, 6th grade. But yeah, 4-year-olds.
Have you ever had a kid come in and say, "You won't believe the answer to prayer I got," and share it with you? Has that happened?
Not very often, but I can't think of one exactly. But I share my prayer answers with them.
and you help them construct prayer journals that help them to track God's answers to their prayers.
Right.
Unfair question. So you've been doing this a while. So you have been in our city for 40 years. So some of the kids that you worked with who were 5 years old,
Phew. Wow. Yep.
are 45 years old.
Yeah, they're grown adults, right?
Have you been able to track any of them? And you meet up with any of them that have like a walk with the Lord that they trace back to CEF?
A lot of our kids are very transient, and so
Yeah.
we lose track of them. But our Chinese ministry with CEF, our Chinese workers have been able to keep in touch with many of the children they reached and who are now adults and have their own kids. And yes, so many of them are walking with the Lord and teaching their own kids. And some of them are pastors, missionaries, and or just in the business world, but still active in church and living for the Lord.
How simple is a presentation of the gospel with a young boy or young girl?
It is simple. Satan wants us to think it's very difficult, but it is simple. God made it so a child just has to believe, and that's what they are. They tend to believe what you say. And so we need to become like children. So the gospel simply is who God is, that he's the creator and he's perfect and he loves you. Who we are sinners, separated from God because of our sin. Who Jesus is, he's the Son of God who was born, lived a perfect life, took the punishment for our sin, and rose again. And what we need to do and how we make that our own is believe that he did that. And so, of course, it's more in-depth than that. That's just very brief, but that's the points of the gospel that children are ready to hear, they need to hear, and they're ready to believe it.
Every gospel presentation that I have ever been a part of, and I've written a track or two along the way, the outline is exactly that. God's position, man's condition, Christ's provision, your decision.
There you go. Wow.
Just trying to keep it within those bounds. Any tips you can give to parents who are trying to teach their kids to pray?
Pretty much what we've already said. Make sure you are modeling and demonstrating prayer. Give your children opportunity to pray. See you pray, but pray with you. Pray for your children, in front of your children and with your children, but give them opportunity also to pray for you. Some of the sweetest experience could be listening to your child pray for you. So share with your child a prayer need and ask them to pray for you right then and there. And when I'm working with kids, I just make an assumption that they are going to pray out loud. Of course, I don't force them, but I don't ask them if they want to. I just say, would you? It's your turn to pray. And I just make the assumption that they are going to pray out loud. And most of the children will go ahead and pray out loud.
Wow. Is there a resource that we could recommend folks in a place that they could get it? The CEF produce something that they could get their hands on?
Well, most of the things that I've been talking about are from CEF. And if they go to cefpress.com, they can find some resources there. Bible lessons and different helps.
And don't hesitate, folks, to teach the kids to pray and to pray out loud and have them, enter into praise and into thanksgiving and then confession as well as supplication. I may just start using all of this with the adults I'm working with, Betsy. It may be the best thing.
That'll work.
Thank you for all you do, and thank you for your ministry with CEF. And thanks for coming on today and sharing and helping us with this.
I'm happy to. Thank you.
God bless you all. This is Pastor Dave Watson. I hope you've enjoyed our program today. Please go to calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. Download this free sermon and consider giving a gift to God in our city. God bless you. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to God in Our City with your host, Pastor Dave Watson. We hope the show was a blessing to you. Again, to receive a downloadable gift from Pastor Dave, go to calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. That's calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. Please check out Pastor Dave's blog at nycshepherd.com. That's nycshepherd.com. Please invite a friend and join us every weekday for another edition of God in Our City.